Okay, if I can move on to a theme you just mentioned. So with the slowdown in the wider economy and in some markets a degree of oversupply and a drop off in volume numbers, we must look at efficiencies and costs. I mean, where does the industry go from here in terms of becoming leaner and more dynamic?
Yeah, I think the current business environment, I consider it myself as an opportunity for operators to revise their operating models. I think if we just compare a hotel in Paris today or in London, in terms of manning, you will find a hotel 150 rooms run by 45 to 50 employees, whether here you are still at 100 and plus. So I think we need to be very efficient. We need to look at each of cost components individually and try to be innovative and cluster.
When you say cluster, so what you mean is the sort of the centralization of the back office stuff.
I can give you an example. You know, in Paris today, if you ask them how many in the finance team you have at the hotel, he will tell you we have 2. Whether here they have 13, 14, 15 sometimes. So how they do that? It's simple. It's again, it's multi-skills, and even they are able to ensure and secure segregation of duty that is imposed by the external auditors, basically. So and they are able to do the closing and to operate, very efficiently. So we need to have that kind of mindset today, which unfortunately doesn't exist yet.
So Jonathan, in your role as Chief Executive of Bench Events, you travel the world, you meet hotel investors and hotel operators around the world. How do things compare in the GCC to the rest of the world? You know, this region has been in investment mode for the best part of 2 decades. We have a lot of capacity that's sprung up over the years. And I'm guessing that a degree of fat has grown into the system, and we're now we're looking at efficiencies and streamlining. Is that going on around the world, or is that unique to what the situation we have in this region at the moment?
Well, I think it really it depends, because in this market there's been a bit of a monopoly from some of the suppliers as well, who are providing services to you, and of course when rates are high you can afford those suppliers. But I see, I don't know about you, Khalid, but I see that there's much more competition now beginning to come in the market. So our costs are starting to be reduced, and you are able to become much more efficient in this market as more suppliers are coming in.
Is that a sort of a natural stage of maturity? So I saw some data from STR Global just 2 weeks ago, and it showed sort of over the long term there's this gradual decline in the key metrics, which brings this region closer to sort of more mature markets. So is that just inevitable, or is it cyclical?
Well, I think one of the issues, obviously here, is the staffing costs, isn't it? And that's something that needs to be driven by the operators, because I think they probably look at each other a little bit too much and compare with each other, as opposed to looking at what happens in the rest of the world, or in more mature markets, to bring down those costs. And I think that's critically important, and something we're going to be discussing a lot at the conference. How do we do that? And also the Emiratization as well. Something that we're all passionate about, and trying to help and bring in Emiratis into our industry and develop that.
When I have been in AHIC events in Saudi, for example, and there's a lot of talk about the skills they're investing in Saudi nationals, and then the problem of poaching. So a hotel operator might invest in a local chef or something, and as soon as he reaches a certain level of competency or quality, someone else will come in and poach him and not invest in the training. Is there a need for better regulation? The Emiratization in the UAE is important, nationalisation everywhere, but is the market regulated properly?
I think that Emiratization, it's at its really early stage. So far there are no no requirement yet. But I believe that it's gonna be coming soon. Going back to Saudi today it's 34% Saudization requirement within the hotel. So that creates certain challenges for operators, and I believe that with the Vision 2030 that will increase. Now, you know, me, I worked in Saudi for the last 5 years, and initially that ratio was at 18%, and it was very challenging. Today it's at 34%. But believe me that we operators were able to integrate these Saudis, and today you have Saudis that are very successful, and they are really producing. You know, they do work, and they do in a pleasant manner. Now, I think this is something that will certainly come up, but I don't believe that the extent of Saudi Arabia. Going back to efficiency, I think that efficiency should start at the development stage, because if you look at the region, the cost per key, it needs to be challenged. As you explained, you know, certain suppliers, they were used to, you know, because nobody asked. The oil was at a high level, and everybody was happy, and the average rate was at the skyrocket. So when we do the assumptions or development, so we do certain assumptions, and we base them on a very rose future, and then we have tendency just to pay more and more. You know, even operators, they have to consider the size of the rooms that are not applicable in Europe today. So let's not go to the extreme of Europe, but let's be somewhere in between. Efficiency is key today. I mean, we need to sustain our business, and we need to be efficient to do that. If you go to Paris 30 years ago, they also had maybe 140, 450 rooms, but they had to be efficient. It's not a choice. They had to. Just people, they are more efficient, they work a little bit more, and they produce more. Not to mention that if you look at the training budget in every hotel, it's quite substantial. It's up between 3 to 4%, some operators even 5% from the total revenue. So that should enable them to come up with very efficient stuff that would be working.
Do you see, you know, there's talk about VAT being introduced in the GCC in 2018. We've talked about Emiratization and the nationalisation, you know, increasing local percentage of local workforce. So do you see a gradual, or maybe even quite a steep increase in the cost base? So whilst we've got this pressure from the revenue side,
well, Saudi Arabia, of course, it's impacted significantly the cost component.
The localization
policies, yeah, sure. Yeah. It's come up with huge cost. Now, if you look at it from the long term, it will be offset. It's clear, but I don't believe that the localization will come up without cost. It's clear it will have a cost behind. Sure, but in the UAE, again, you know, the population, the local population is not as huge as in Saudi.
Yeah, it's different pressures.
It's completely different pressure. Saudis, they have a young population that needs works. It's different. I don't think we'll see that in Qatar or even in the UAE or Bahrain. It's not the case because of the population size.
Okay.
Yeah.